One.
Hello everybody, Chris Conklin here with the Chanute channel, and I'm back here with somebody that you very well know, Adrian Madril. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about hypnosis and another flair on it, if you will, because one of the things that you started doing is stage hypnosis. Now, a lot of people may have seen something like this in the past, either at a comedy club or at a party event or some kind of a display. It could have been just about anywhere, but it's just basically having a little bit of fun with a group of people and doing hypnosis. You want to kind of like tell us a little bit about that and then the difference between that and therapeutic hypnosis?
Well, usually when I describe the difference between clinical therapeutic hypnosis and stage or entertainment hypnosis, I tell people it's exactly different, yet it's exactly the same.
It's the same but only different.
It's the same but a different flair, a different perspective, a different expectation. So it's probably easiest if I back up a little bit,
okay,
and give a definition of what hypnosis is.
Okay.
And you may have heard me say this 1,000 times if you know me. There's as many definitions of hypnosis as there are hypnotists that are writing books, selling training, anything like that. I don't write books. I don't sell my knowledge to anybody. I'm happy to share it with people. That may change in the future. So here's my definition of hypnosis. Hypnosis is a state of being in which a person is more receptive to suggestion. So if we think about everyday life, because hypnosis is a naturally occurring phenomenon. In everyday life, there's a mother and child. Child's learning how to walk. Child falls down often when they're learning how to walk. This time the child's walking on the sidewalk and stumbles, falls, skins their knee. What happens? The child looks, sees what's happened to them physically, and this is something new. I fall down, that's not scary. I fall down all the time. But this time I fell down on the sidewalk and now my knee hurts a little bit, and there's a mark. Yeah, there's a mark, there's a little bit of oozing coming out. This is different, this is unique. We fear what we don't know. Mm-hmm. So what happens in the medical definition of hypnosis is that pain is just a signal until it gets to the brain and is attached to emotion. So what's the first thing the child does? People say they cry. Well, half the mothers I talk to say, well, they cry. The other half say they look around to see if anybody's noticed. And this is a very natural thing. In the wild, whether you're a fox, a bunny, or a human child, it does not matter. If you are scared, you call for mom. Mm-hmm. And you do that by crying. So mom comes over and plays the hypnotist and says, oh, it's not that bad. Let me kiss it and make it feel better.
Yeah. Kiss the boo-boo.
Kiss the boo-boo. Mom kisses the boo-boo, and something happens. The child feels better. That pain is reduced. That emotional response, that fear, is no longer there because that child respects mom, appreciates mom. Mom's only taken care of that child, nurtured it, nourished it, protected it. So what mom says, this baby has no reason to doubt. This baby has no reason to question, analyze, just accepts.
Right.
There's no medicinal value in a mother's kiss. There's no anesthetic value in a mother's kiss. There is a, if you will, a psychological value in the sense that mom calms down this child by making a suggestion. The child receives the suggestion, and the child has a physiological response that pain reduction reduces. Hypnotic pain control. So in the clinical setting, it's the same thing. I have somebody come to my office. They're wanting to see me for whatever reason. I have to build that relationship, like that mother-child relationship, in my office in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And then I give a suggestion, and that person chooses to accept that suggestion if they trust me, if they like the suggestion, and a physiological change can occur. Stage hypnosis or entertainment hypnosis, whether it's in the street or on the stage or whatever venue, is the same thing, except for the perception is different. Here people are going to an event where a hypnotist is performing. That hypnotist is automatically seen as the expert. The people who are going to volunteer on stage, a lot of them have already made up their mind before the hypnotist ever gets up and talks at the mic, that they're going to be on stage. So these people are already saying, I trust you, you're an expert. They may not trust that hypnotist specifically, but because friends and family are around, that, you know, I feel comfortable in this situation. And then they're going to say, because you are the expert, just like Mom, whatever you say, just like Mom, will occur, because I have no reason to doubt you, to fear it, or anything else. So it becomes a physical reaction. The people who tend to volunteer for these things are those people who are most comfortable in front of an audience, looking for that attention, who want to be the stars of the show. So that's why we ask for volunteers who want to be the star of the show.
Now let's talk just a little bit before we get into how your stage show works, and the aspect that people really live in a hypnotic state every day of their lives. An example that I can give you clearest to mind is highway hypnosis, where you're driving in from Chanute to Kansas City, and then all of a sudden you didn't realize that you're in Iola already. Mm-hmm. Now, I've heard it explained one way is the lines in the highway, because they're constantly more or less at a rhythm, have put you into some other kind of a state where your mind wanders off, you're doing something else, and then the next thing you know, oh, I didn't realize we're all the way to the circle at Garnett already. So that time lapse, and then not realizing that that amount of time has occurred, or the reverse of that is like, this is taking forever.
That is experiences that people have, and everybody experiences that hypnotic state differently. There are some people who think that hypnosis has a eyes closed, traditional trance approach to it, and that depth of trance is important. Others feel it's a relationship between practitioner and client or volunteer. But that doesn't take into consideration the natural. So if you take the natural reactions, and by natural I'm thinking more of just you in your environment, that rhythmicness, that lines in the highway going by over and over, yeah, that's a good possibility that could be the reason. It could be the music that they have on the radio. It could be any number of things. If you think of music, music is very hypnotic. Music is designed to respond to an emotional state, that tell a story.
It's suggestive.
And it's very suggestive. Mm-hmm. And so that puts you in that. Trance doesn't have to be eyes closed. Trance doesn't have to be loss of control or anything like that. In fact, the example you gave of highway hypnosis, you still make it to your destination safely, because you're still receiving signal, your brain is still interpreting signal, you're still correcting for road changes and what you need to do. Mm-hmm. When you end up in a ditch is when you've fallen asleep, which is
totally different
than hypnosis. So reading a book, you know, there's not a whole lot going on there, but you lose track of time. You may even get so involved, if you think of depth of trance, you may get so involved in the setting and the characters that you're right there with them. In a movie, it may just be so emotional that you shed a tear. They're all suggestions. It's not real life happening, but it creates a physiological response.
It sucks you in where you become part of it, and it becomes your reality.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the word sucks, because it makes it feel as this is happening to me, but more of you are allowing yourself to participate in that story, in that movie, in that music. You know, perception is what makes it scary or not scary.
Well, as a filmmaker, I mean, to get involved in a movie or make a movie attractive to people is you have to make the viewer feel that that they can identify with either a character, the situation, or the movie itself, and then they become part of it themselves, and then the time either flies by or they can't identify with it, and that was the longest 15 minutes they ever had to sit through.
And that's the important thing with suggestion work, whether it's in the clinic or it's on stage or it's, performing in the street, whatever it is. If you can make it more real, the suggestion's more real. Imagine what the smell of this is like, or, in your mind, what would the perfect rose look like, or any number of things like that, that gets into that creative process.
And to each person, that might be different. When you mention the simple term rose, to me it may be red, to you may it be yellow, to somebody else it may be black.
I like the miniature roses.
The ones that haven't blossomed out yet?
Well, no, there's actually miniature roses. They're a smaller bush. They have smaller little flowers. When they're completely open, they're maybe like that big. And it's just what I used to remember from high school. They were a lot easier to take to school and leave in people's lockers instead of big, long stem, fat roses that cost you a lot of money.
Oh, there you go, saving money. Tip for the wise there. Okay, before we get into showing some clips from one of your stage shows and you explaining what's going on.
And rose bushes from 1987.
And those, or 77, depending upon how far back you want to go. Somebody that has attention or focus issues, they either have ADD or their mind is thinking about 30 different things at one time. How do you work with somebody like that?
Well, now, we have to be careful because things like attention deficit disorder or any of these labels, those are medical diagnoses. And so if somebody wants to have me work on a medical diagnosis, I'm not a medical care provider.
No, I was referring more to like me as an example. My mind wanders too much. I'm a terrible reader because I'll read the same page 20 times and I still can't tell you what it's about, because I will read something and then my mind starts thinking about all these different things based on triggers of what I read. So if you were working with me as an example and you were telling me to focus on something, my mind might be triggered to start thinking about a bunch of different other things.
That's a very good point. And, on the second show that I had in one night, I had two gentlemen that came up to me and said, we volunteered for 2 other hypnotists and we were always asked to leave the stage because we couldn't be hypnotized. And it's not a matter of being able to be hypnotized. It's a matter of I have so much time to work and I have to have the best people who will respond that I can do a general suggestion with and get them all to respond versus individualizing it for a person. I worked with these two after the show and they both went into hypnosis and they both did well with the suggestions I gave them. But with people who probably get distracted easy or they're more of a go, 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 go mindset, if they are not open to experiencing what relaxation really is, then they need a different type of induction, maybe a instant or rapid induction, or maybe a confusion induction, or different types of techniques to help them get out of their conscious mind and just allow their subconscious mind to participate. If you think of inductions as different ways to get into a club.
Right.
You want to get into the club because the club's where all the fun's at, but there's a bodyguard at that front door.
You got to get past that rope.
Got to get past that rope. Well, your typical induction for stage, because it works for a wide group of people very well, is a type of progressive muscle relaxation induction. And some people say you bore them to sleep. So imagine that being talking to that bouncer long enough to where he just wants to get rid of you. So he takes your money and lets you in the door.
Right.
An instant induction or a rapid induction might be one of those where you maybe say, oh, look over there, and run in real quick. A confusion induction is maybe one of those things where the quick change artists that might go, oh, it's $20 to get in, here's this, oh, wait, let's make some change, back and forth, and by the time you're done, you're so confused.
Can you give me 2 10s for a 5?
Yeah. and the quick change artist didn't pay for anything, and he's in the door. And so there's different techniques to occupy the conscious mind. The conscious mind is what is probably it is the obstacle to get past. And most people naturally allow that to happen by thinking about something that makes them happy, something that, that song on the radio that was playing on your first dance with your first boyfriend, your first kiss, your marriage, your whatever it is, you hear that song again.
And it takes you back to that time.
Takes you back to that time. So most people just are allowing that to happen naturally. Some of us have created a learned reaction that we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to be in control of the situation. No, I can't do it your way, I have to do it my way every time. And with those people, you have to do something different with them for it to work.
You got to put them back into a different comfort zone.
You work with what they give you. And that's the truth with any client, in any situation, with any problem. You work with what they give you. Is the best way to be the most effective.
So I think the important thing to point out as we start watching and you explaining these more entertainment style of clips is that these people that allow themselves to be part of the show subconsciously or consciously will not do anything that they normally would not do anyway. So you can't not make them quack like a duck or whatever that it is that people can make fun of if they're not comfortable with doing that.
I mean, yeah, if you really think about it, how harmful is quacking like a duck to somebody?
But to some people might think that that's humiliating and they wouldn't do it.
If they feel humiliated by it, that's not a problem. If they're scared by it, that's not going to work. So if you think of, sometimes we'll use things like, you will not remember your first name. Okay. And for somebody, oh my gosh, what if I never remember my first name? What if this and what if that? If they're in that conscious mind, they're afraid of it, or whatever reason that they're saying, I don't know if I should do this, then that suggestion they're not going to take. But, or if they just can't imagine themselves losing that first name. But if somebody says, I'm having such a good time,
I'm just going to go with it.
There's no threat to it, and I know this guy is going to take care of me. I'm going to be able to have my first name back, especially if I give you that suggestion that, it's not scary. It'll actually be funny, and you'll get your first name back just in a few minutes. But I wonder if you can allow yourself to imagine this. Then you can really have some fun and really amaze yourself and really see how powerful your mind can be.
And realizing that this is only temporary.
Now, the quacking like a duck, the doing different things, again, it's the mindset of the person that is volunteering. So if your mindset is of that this hypnotist is going to make me do things, then you may have the mindset that anything he says I will react to without question. And that is fine if you know the hypnotist, if you trust the hypnotist, if you know that hypnotist is not going to make suggestions that could create some sort of risk or danger or whatever. Not that that might be necessarily the intention, but you'll see some hypnotists use a suggestion that a person's belt is a snake. Whether they say snake or just go sss. It's funny to watch people scatter and everything, but what happens if the person tries to jump over the chair to hide from the snake? Or they get up onto the chair, like a rat's running around or whatever, and the chair topples over. So I don't use suggestions like that because I don't want people to accidentally hurt themselves. So yeah, there is a risk. There's some people out there that they're afraid to go on stage and be hypnotized because they don't know what's going to happen.
Or they might say something that they didn't mean to say, like I hate my boss.
Yeah, and well, something like that, if you hate your boss, if it's a company party, like Christmas time or something, maybe you might not want to go up on stage and volunteer.
Because it could be that you will say that.
The inner child of you may just say, I don't want to work here anymore.
Take this job and shove it.
But the hypnotist cannot make you say that by suggestion unless you really want to say it. The problem is, do you really want to say it? So
And what makes
sometimes,
that come out?
yeah. So sometimes, hypnotists will say things like, "You can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. You can be anywhere you want to be." That's the magic, the mystery, the miracle of hypnosis, and we do that every day. It's like you take 5 minutes and you go back to that beach on the Caribbean island that you went on a cruise at, and maybe you're looking at the picture on your computer monitor, and for a moment you're back there hearing the sounds and smelling the salt air and feeling the sun on your skin. It's the same thing. It really is.
It's just a displacement of where you currently are at that time in your mind.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's set this up. The first clip that we're going to start this with, actually, you started before the show even started. You made contact with one of the girls, and you gave her some suggestions before the show even started, referencing her feet and her hand. So
my contracted time was midnight to 1 a.m. It was a after prom party that the school was having, kind of one of these typical lock-ins. You come in, we provide some entertainment for you so you don't go out and get drunk and wrap your car around a telephone pole, killing you and the friends in your car. Great idea. But I didn't want to start early without permission, and my contact wasn't there in the room. He was busy with other duties. We had sponsors in the room, parents and teachers, and so I asked somebody to go check to see if it was okay if we started early, because prom had really just shut down. So one of the girls had mentioned she wanted to be hypnotized specifically. I think she wanted to cluck like a chicken. I didn't make her cluck like a chicken, but what I did do was give her an opportunity to experience some what we call street-style hypnosis. So you won't hear me talking to her because my microphone's off. I had the camera running because liability-wise, my insurance company that covers my entertainment hypnosis likes for things to be recorded. I like to have things recorded, that sort of thing. So so I was working with her, doing some stuff, and what you'll see is she will be tapping. I'll be tapping on her foot with my foot, saying, "This foot is stuck to the ground," and giving her some suggestions, whether it's, as she's pressing down, it's like hammering a nail into the ground, or it's super glue, or whatever suggestions we used. She'll find that she cannot lift her foot, and then it's a chain of events sort of suggestion where now to lift her foot up, she has to press her other foot down on the ground. As she pushes her other foot down on the ground, that foot becomes stuck, the other one becomes loose, and you can lift that foot up.
Okay, well, let's start the video, and then maybe you can explain exactly what you're doing during these portions of the show. And these are just clips of various parts of the show. It's not in any way the entire show. So we'll go ahead and watch the clips.
So here you'll see that I'm pressing down on her foot, telling her that she can now lift the other foot up.
Now, and I noticed that she's focusing pretty hard on her feet as well.
And she's really trying to lift it, but the first suggestion of her first foot being stuck, glued, nailed, whatever, is still holding place. And now you saw she was able to lift her foot, but it took a little bit of encouragement that that foot is now removable. She reaches down, grabs her pant leg. She can't pull her hand off her pant leg until she uses her other hand. Now her other hand is stuck to her wrist. And then to release that hand from her wrist, she has to put her first hand on her forehead. Now her hand on her forehead becomes stuck as her other hand becomes loose. And now having her test how stuck that hand actually is on her forehead, to give it a good tug. And you can see her elbow moving there. She's actually giving it a good tug. Mm-hmm. And then just letting her know that her hand is now free. She's allowed to remove her hand. She gives herself permission to remove her hand.
And then you just kind of bring her out of that particular portion.
I just emerge her out of that to get feedback from her and to check to see, okay, are we ready to start or whatnot.
Now, I noticed that she smiled a little bit. Did she just realize what happened? Is that kind of what happens there?
She just experienced how wonderful that actually was, the power of that. And
so now this is a bit that you've got pretty much the entire group involved with. What have you done here?
Well, this is, there are certain suggestions that most hypnotists use. This is a very common one where they're on the beach and they're experiencing hot and cold. The And you see that people are at different levels of comfort with suggestions, or their expectations may be different. The girl in the black pants and pink top, she is just comfortable at the beach. She's sprawled out in the chair. She's feeling the heat a little bit more. And some people may not be really at that same depth of experience that she is having right there.
Yeah, because I noticed some of the other participants, they're not really reacting at all, but she's really getting into it. Now,
Yeah.
what are you telling them at this point?
I'm telling them that the temperature is going up, it's harder and hotter, and so, you notice that some of them weren't responding until I say, now fan yourselves to cool yourself down. So they may have been experiencing that heat, but still not responding to it. Here you see the gentleman in the blue shirt. Now he's starting to fan himself. He may have a higher tolerance to heat. He may be that farm boy who throws hay out on summer mornings. So some people respond to heat differently than other people. Some respond to cold more. But also, if you buy into the school of thought that there's depth of trance, the reason why we start with some of these simpler ones first is because we're trying to help them build into that level of trance. Some of them may be experiencing the exact same things, but it may just be in their mind, and they're not doing an outward expression of it.
Okay, so now what is happening here?
This part is the temperature's getting colder. The sun's going behind the clouds. They're still on the beach. This is unusual weather. The temperature's dropping to unusual temperatures, maybe down to 40 or 30 degrees.
And you're getting a little bit more response out of people now, so that means they're more susceptible to cold than they are to warm.
That's a good possibility.
Except for this one individual here on the left. He doesn't seem to be affected by anything you're saying.
Well, he's an interesting individual. His attitude wasn't with real excitement to be up there, but it seems like he had sat down in a chair before I had got started, and when I started talking to people, he just really didn't want to move and go to the bleachers to watch the show, but he really wasn't excited about participating in the show. So his reactions are really subdued, and most hypnotists would have pulled him out and set him down by now. Here they're still experiencing that cold, but they know that body warmth, so they're snuggling for body warmth.
And then you took him back out and told him everything was normal again.
Now they're on the beach eating ice cream cones, and you see he wasn't responding before to hot and cold, but he's licking an ice cream cone. And this young lady, I had to talk to her directly for her to experience the ice cream cone. And they're licking the ice cream cone, and soon I'll give them the suggestion that that ice cream cone is starting to melt more and more, quicker and quicker. Hurry up, lick the ice cream cone so it doesn't melt all over the place. Eventually it gets all over their arms and everything, and they react to it. You'll see at different times, different people...
Shove it all in their mouth, get rid of it.
Shove it all in their mouth, and brain freeze.
So they just react to what it would be if they were having that experience.
For some of them, they were actually truly experiencing eating the ice cream and what brain freeze is.
Okay.
It's that emotion attached to a memory of it.
Now here we notice the guys are looking in one direction and the girls are looking in another. What are they supposedly looking at?
The setup on this one was they're still on the beach, and guys, they're cute girls on one side of the beach. Now this part of it is the girls, there's cute guys on the other side of the beach. And so their responses, waving, getting their attention, like they're cute guys. And so we're getting some reaction from them on that. There was another part to that had a little bit more fun to it. Another common one is good smell, bad smell. These are things that you may see if you have any hypnotist come to your school. But there's a good smell, and follow that smell, and you find that it's coming from the other person's hair. And these three girls are actually, doing such a good job. The camera tends to focus on them a lot.
Now I notice it kind of goes between the two guys in an empty chair.
Yeah, because when we first
chair.
Started, that empty chair had a girl in it. So
when they went under, there was somebody there.
Yeah.
Just like this girl focusing on the
well,
left.
And that's because the suggestion is that there's that there's something there. This is actually the bad smell. And
Yeah, it looked like
so-
she was about ready to throw up there. So
Well,
right there, same.
Some people have smelled some pretty terrible smells in their
Yeah,
life.
there was another one that
Yeah.
gagged. So do you have to tell them not to throw up?
It's always a safety measure if you don't want to have to clean up.
Yeah, because they will.
But, well, it's possible, if they've thrown up to a bad smell before, if that's the smell that they're focusing on. That's the interesting thing is you do your best to try to give a good show. At least my philosophy is give a good show, a clean show, a fun show, a show that the stars of the show, the volunteers, won't be embarrassed about later. So I try not to let them do things like throw up. Here they are dancing to some different music.
Now, why is she like acting like pushing the guys away there at that point?
Well,
Could it be like a comfort zone, or?
It could be a comfort zone because you can tell they're kind of all over the place.
But now she looks like she's like trying to steal the limelight.
And if you notice, that bumping and everything pulled the girl in the orange to more of an alert state there. She's actually completely awake right now.
The one on the left there?
On the left, yes.
So it kind of brought her out.
Yeah, and some people bumping up against you may ruin your moment, sort of thing.
So what's going on here?
More of the dance. This is their listening to the Nutcracker Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. And
now, I noticed the one guy, he was very active. Now he's not participating.
It's because a hypnotist can't make you do anything that you don't want to do, and maybe in his mind, boys don't do ballet.
Okay.
So he's uncomfortable with
And the far left, you can barely see him. He didn't dance during the other, but now he's kind of participating with the ballet.
Yeah. He's a little bit more involved. His leg is coming up with the suggestion that you extend that leg, point the toe, and raise it as high as you can raise it. And some people are really trying to raise their leg there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a winner of the dance contest, and everybody else, the suggestion for everybody else is that their hands are up, they're being held up by ropes as if they were tied into their chairs and their arms tied up, and they're being tickled on their feet.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot get away from it. As I award the girl, the winner of the dance contest, with a $5,000 check.
So she thinks that she just got a $5,000 check and she's supposed to put it someplace that nobody can find it?
Yeah, we don't want her to get robbed or anything, for a $5,000 check. So
now what happens when she gets home and finds this card or whatever you gave her?
Yeah, she finds my business card, but she remembers that it was part of the routine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, she kind of looked a little bit like she was in a zombie state. And some of them look like the one in the blue shorts. He always seemed like he's happy and giggling, or some of them look more serious.
And that's part of where people think that this is some supernatural sort of thing, a voodoo or cult type of thing. It's their expectation. It's what they are experiencing. So that relaxed state, think of you're being woken up from a deep sleep. You're a little groggy, you're a little lethargic, and so some of them associate that wonderful, relaxed, hypnotic state as being sluggish or being kind of drugged out or something. But the reality of it is they can have as much energy as they want to have, or they can react however they expect to react when they're
And
in that state.
your dance winner obviously is not participating in this
Right.
other activity because she
tickle.
didn't get that suggestion.
Yeah, I made that suggestion specifically for everybody other than her.
Okay, now what are you doing here?
Most hypnotists have at least part of their routine some what they call post-hypnotic suggestions.
Okay.
So instead of making a general suggestion to the group and having them respond at that time, you give them individual suggestions or a suggestion to 2 or 3 of them, and on a cue word, a trigger word, they respond.
Okay.
It works well, but it's not 100%. A lot depends on a lot of different factors. But
Now, do you remember what your suggestion was to her?
I really couldn't tell you until I see what she does.
Okay, so each of these have a different suggestion, probably.
There are different ones. I do
Okay.
remember the girl here in the pink and the girl who won the dance contest. They're going to be fashion models.
Okay.
As soon as I say something about beautiful faces,
Mm-hmm.
and that address won't be to them, it'll be to the school in general. It's really great to be here, see all these beautiful faces, something along that lines. And then these 2 girls
It
get
just
up
triggers that
and
action.
do their walk across the stage type of idea. And here I'm giving it to the second person. You see me, I'll touch their knee, their hand, their wrist, some part of their body, which will be an appropriate location.
So they know that you're talking to them.
Right, I tell them.
So like the person I'm touching now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And only the person I'm touching now. So, but it's amazing because sometimes some people still think that they may think that they feel me touching them because they're in the creative part of their mind. So I give a suggestion to some of them that they will not remember their first name, and it's surprising. Sometimes the whole group will lose their first name when you give it just to one person. This girl, I gave her the suggestion that she'll be my mini-me. I give her my hypnotic water gun, and when
she becomes a hypnotist herself.
She has the power to hypnotize, knowing that there is no power, but again, it's the perception. The people on stage expect a hypnotist to hypnotize them. Which I think
is important to point out is that the people that are under your hypnotic state will only respond to your voice.
Yeah.
So even though she may be doing the action, they're only responding to you.
She's doing the action, but the suggestion is implanted to everybody that when she squirts the hypnotic water gun and I go squirt, they go to sleep. Or what we call sleep. It's not really sleep, it's that hypnotic state.
So they're paying attention to who is being pointed at and then responding to your word sleep. Right.
And in reality, what is the hypnotic state? They are all in some amount of trance.
She's mimicking you? Is that what she's trying to do?
Yeah, she's my mini-me, so she is following my body language. And she will do it at different times.
And you're talking to the general audience at that particular point. So this is where you've given one of those cues, and then a couple people are reacting to it. So what's happening here?
On this one here, these girls took it a little bit further than I was expecting. We gave the suggestion that whenever they hear applause, that they immediately stand up. They think that applause is for them, and so they get up and they bow. But they'll notice that somebody else is trying to steal their applause, and so they try to...
They're fighting for center stage.
Well, the suggestion is they're supposed to bow even greater to win that reward.
So I'd hear you kind of realize that they're going a little too far, so you stop it?
Well, I'm also crunched for time at this point here. This is on a separate show.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I didn't want it to escalate, but also I needed to be wrapping things up. This is back to the first show, and he had a response to the applause as well as she did. They were on opposite ends, so their response wasn't so much the confrontational. While this girl, my mini-me, she was actually pretty awesome. She didn't respond as well to all the dancing and stuff earlier.
So but did she forget her name too then?
Yeah, I asked, her thing was, whenever I turn and face you, I'm a world's famous hypnotist, you want my autograph. And here we have the fashion models.
Now they've turned into models.
But I still have my mini-me following me around.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I give her my autograph, you know, she doesn't have paper, so I have to write it on her hands. This person here, he loses the number 4 when he's counting. So when he counts, he'll end up counting 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. First, he tells me he's got 5 fingers on his hand, but he counts 6 of them. And that's the confused look, but the smile.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have him count all 10 fingers, because if he's got 6 fingers on a hand, 2 of them would be 12. But he's only missing the number 4, so he counts to 11.
Okay.
When he counts backwards,
he's going to be missing one.
He's going to have an extra number, or one less finger.
So he'll stop at the number 2.
Yes, if we take it that direction.
So now he's confused because, wait a minute, they're not coming out right.
Yeah.
So 1 minute he has 10 fingers, then he has 12, and then he has 11.
And it's just, and if you set up the suggestions right, then that confusion is not scary, it's fun.
Yeah, and this he definitely seems to be having a good time.
You could tell his personality throughout the show. Some hypnotists would have sat him down early because he was smiling.
They thought that he was faking it.
They would probably think that he was faking it, but it's just his inner personality showing that he just enjoys different aspects of this.
So now you gave him his 4 back.
Yeah, and some, like the girl to his right, is paying full attention to it, while others
You're talking about the girl here
Yeah.
on the left?
or on his right.
On his right, yeah.
our left, is paying attention to what's going on, while others may still have that lethargic look about them.
So she's actually very attentive to the counting, but yet she's not interfering with what's going on.
Right, and I mean, she can be enjoying that part as much as anyone else in the audience.
So this is where they forget their name?
This is one of the gentlemen who forgets his name. He remembers everything else about himself, but he allows himself to not remember his name for this time period.
So you can ask him any other question, and he knows that.
He knows, yeah, if he knew the answer before, he knows it now. So, you know, I don't know if he knows who signed the Declaration of Independence, but he knows his name, his favorite color, where he goes to school.
He just cannot recite his first
right
name.
there, I gave him the suggestion that he remembers his first name, and he says it.
Oh, so it takes him right back out of it. And here's our...
And again, that triggered by the phrase, you know, beautiful faces, these girls get up and dance. Earlier it was cut, but my mini-me gave them the clothes to wear, which are designer clothes from a famous designer in Milan, Italy. His name is Adrian from Milan, and they actually believe they're wearing fashion wear. Here they are posing for the paparazzi to get their pictures in the magazine and taking the photo op with a hypnotist. And now they're doing different poses. And it's funny because at the end of the show, they don't realize why they're wearing my shirt. And better
Or the
yet,
pajama bottoms.
The pajama bottoms.
So the reactions... Okay, now what... You're taking them out of... What are you doing here?
I told them that, oh no, now we realize that they're wearing the wrong clothes for the fashion shoot. They're supposed to be wearing the other set of clothes. And so you don't see it in this one, or maybe you see it. I tell them the next time you cross in the middle, you realize that.
That they've stolen each other's
that
outfits.
They're wearing the wrong outfits, and so now they're having to exchange clothes, being mindful to only take off the outer set of clothes that they're wearing.
Sure.
And to exchange
The girl on the
clothes.
right seems a little bit more defensive about it.
Well, you know, why did you get the wrong clothes? You never know what's going through
So
somebody's
she thinks
mind.
maybe that the other girl stole them.
Yeah. Possibly that could be, or just, you know, questions why.
She doesn't trust.
It's hard to say. I'm not a psychologist. I don't try to diagnose what is going on.
But it's very clear that she's not going to give up her clothes
well,
until she
how
gets the
many
others
times
back.
with a younger brother or older brother or sister, yeah, somebody say, you give it to me first, and then you don't get yours in return. So who knows what's going on? And now again, the suggestion that they remember everything.
Oh, and you can see that he's remembering
Yeah.
about his fingers. And
Some people remember quicker. Some people are...
maybe they remember what somebody else did.
They may remember the whole show. They may remember what they did. It doesn't matter. The reason why I give suggestions like that at the end of the show is so that they know that when they go to school, go to work, whatever the situation is, even later that evening, people don't go, oh, you did the silliest things.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, you did this, you should be embarrassed, or whatever. They know what they did. And you saw with it, the suggestions I give, they're happy with it. They're fine with it. They had a good time. They smile. Some of them took a little longer. Some of them were like, wow, I can't believe I couldn't remember my first name. You know, so it just really depends on what they experienced.
Now, does it take a completely different mindset for you to be able to do a stage show versus a client in your office?
Well, some people can't do what some people can't do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes a very charismatic person to have a really fun show, keep a show going, keep a show alive. My mentor, William Mitchell from Clean Hypno Shows, he is high energy. It's like he had a double espresso before the show. His music is so loud, his microphone is so loud, and he is projects very well with his voice to begin with, and he's very excited about the suggestions. My personality is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that you have to scream at a person to get them to do something. That's not his intent. His intent is to have such volume that there is no distraction from the audience. My suggestions are, all the noise that you hear is normal noise, that it won't bother you. In fact, it'll just motivate you more knowing that you are the star of the show.
Now, how did you know that you wanted to branch off and add this to your...
I originally didn't.
Okay.
I wanted to stick specifically with medical hypnotism, support the medical community in any way that I could. And I'm doing well with my clients. My clients are doing well with their desires to change in some manner. But William had contacted me before prom. He actually was back in October. That's how early schools plan for things like prom and graduation. And said, I have way too many shows. Would you be willing to learn stage hypnosis and take up some of the extra shows for me? And it wasn't my initial intention. What I wanted to do is learn more the entertainment side. So when I do presentations for school classrooms or school auditorium type of things, assemblies, speaking in front of organizations, civic organizations and whatnot, to make it less clinical and dry and make it a little bit more fun. So I learned from him. I learned from him because his perspective is clean shows and shows that you can be proud to bring to your community.
You can do them anywhere.
You can do them anywhere. We're not gonna, some hypnotists that headline in Vegas are expected to have more risque shows because it's Vegas. It's Vegas on the Strip. It's in the evening and that sort of thing, and so they actually have to have a show that way. But it's not the kind of show you want at your high school or your junior high or part of a civic organization. So people like that. They're more comfortable with bringing in a hypnotist if they know that your intentions is to have a clean, safe, fun show. And so I wanted to learn from William because that's his focus, is what can I do to make it fun and clean and safe.
So now, how long did it take you to actually learn how to do this so that you could go out and do it on your own?
That's really a complicated question because I already knew hypnosis.
Okay.
So there's learning hypnosis, learning how to be effective with hypnosis, all this stuff. So I come to the table already knowing all that stuff. It's just applying it to that situation.
A different specialty, if you will.
Yeah. So it didn't take me as long. It was more just working with William on concepts, learning some different things, and a different approach. In the office, I have we're going to help you learn how to do this for yourself approach. Because to me, it's no value for me to wave a magic wand, snap my fingers, and you leave a non-smoker. That may work for a certain population, and I may, have a little higher success rate if I took that approach to some people. But what's more important to me is that you stay a non-smoker. I get smokers coming to me for non-smoking that stopped smoking with hypnosis years ago, but they started smoking again. So, and every one of those I ask, why did you start smoking again? Loss of a family member, lost my job, divorce,
a significant event.
Some sort of significant event that they did not know how to deal with that stress, except for, well, that cigarette was always there for me before, and so they go back to smoking. So to me, it's almost a little bit of a disservice if I can teach you that you can make it through significant events without having to go back to that cigarette.
So like getting back to the cause, not the symptom of what's creating that.
Yeah, it's actually taking care of it, not putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That dike has got a leak. Okay, put a finger in it and stand there the rest of your life. And then another leak happens, another leak because you didn't let the pressure off the other side.
Right.
Or you can take care of the problem, which is the pressure on the other side. So that's more my approach. With stage, though, because people are expecting you to come in and make them cluck like a duck, then you have to play that part. I tone down that part quite a bit. I let them know that this is their show, and I tell them that they're in control. So I may not be the right person if somebody wants a very authoritative style and make people do the cutting edge of things, and where people may not realize that they have a choice. It's all what we experience. We were talking before about it's kind of the glass half empty, glass is half full. If you didn't know you could fill up your cup, it's probably half empty. But if you know you could always fill it back up, it's only half full.
Mm-hmm.
And so, same thing with the suggestion, whether it's a stage show, an office visit, whatever it is.
Right.
It's the perception of what your limitations are that you impose upon yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The hypnotist just plays a part, and if it's beneficial for them in a stage show, say in Vegas, to have the biggest, most outrageous show to take advantage of what they're giving him, then he's going to take advantage of what they're giving him. My perspective is a little bit different. If I can give you a nice, good, clean show and give you the control, then it's not all about me. It's not about my ego. It's not a supernatural power that I have. It's that relationship I have with you, and because you trust me, because you're having a good time, you're going to say, well, okay, you know what? I'm going to forget my first name.
I'm going to go with it.
I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to analyze it. I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not going to doubt it. I'm going to go with it because this is actually pretty neat, and I want to see what kind of power my mind really has.
How far it will go. Very interesting. Well, we thank you for coming in and sharing that with us. Obviously, we can go on and on and on forever on this interesting topic. Maybe we'll have you back at some particular point and talk about the different types of hypnosis and how they can work perhaps not only in the medical or entertainment field, but in the criminal aspects as well.
That sounds good.
All right. Well, for the Chanute channel, I'm Chris Conklin.